Well, good evening and welcome to our meeting for March. We're glad you could be with us. Very good crowd tonight. Welcome. We'd like to begin each meeting prior to it with a moment of silence. Invite you to join us if you like. Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of special recognitions. Dr. Thorson?
Yes. First, we want to recognize a group who's been supportive of some of our students, and Ann is going to come up and share some information.
I like surprises.
Get more specific.
A little bit more detailed. Okay. We have a couple of representatives here from the Seneca Jeep Fest. And for the past couple of years, the Jeep Fest has been supporting the preschool intervention program and autism awareness throughout the school district by raising funds and then donating some of those funds to our preschool intervention programs so that we can get specialized equipment for our children that are needed. And so these guys are here today, and we really appreciate you being here. And we do have some of the PIP teachers over here that have come also that they may, for the moment, can just kind of share sometimes what y'all have purchased. Two of them I know were here last year, so. Go ahead.
Last year we got a trampoline for our classroom, a small trampoline, and it has served every day as a good resource for our classroom. So we really appreciate it.
We got some cube chairs, which are sturdy little chairs that the kids can sit in that can either help support the kids if they're having trouble sitting up on their own, or it can just help give them just a solid spot that they know is there. So those are nice.
Yep. And that's just a couple of examples. Some of the teachers also purchased materials for a sensor board for the children. And I mean, just tons of stuff. So really, really appreciate everything you guys
We're glad to
do.
be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know just what we get in the days already getting going to something.
I'm sure, yeah, teachers are already spinning, so but thank you, Gary.
And if we could we get all of you in the middle? So
Okay.
We'd like to tweet that out on our district Twitter feed, and Mr. Hammy's going to come get a picture of everyone if we can do that. Everybody yells at us.
One, two, three. All right, I got it. Thank y'all.
One more.
Yeah, this is for Riley, so make sure it's a good one. Okay, I got you couple.
Okay, and I just want to share,
No.
Missy just said that they are donating $2,000.
Wow. That's one of the great things about living in Oconee County. We have an incredibly supportive community, and the folks at Jeep Fest, we appreciate what y'all are doing to help our youngest kids, so that's great.
I knew you had a big crowd there, but I didn't know it was that large. So. Thank you. And I believe you have one more, Dr.
I have one more, and I'm going to ask if Corey Holcomb would come up front. I've got something I'm going to read. We've got a little certificate. Mr. Lee, if you want to join me in just a second, I'll just read a couple of things. So, you guys know for several years we've had Math Madness, which is a math competition for our elementary school students. And the folks who direct Math Madness wanted to, well, I'm just going to read this. That'll be better than me talking. So for Math Madness this year, the lead teachers chose to use a hometown theme. The theme was to focus on Oconee County and the businesses and people within our community. They wanted to use the resources that are homegrown. With this in mind, the teachers, with the help of Hamilton Career Center's Alan Vargo, set up a competition to create a t-shirt graphic. The guidelines were that you must use the shape of South Carolina, the words Math Madness, a math symbol to identify Oconee County, and the tagline, "Where Math Happens." The students in Mr. Vargo's class worked for about a month, and 3 finalists were sent to the Math Madness directors. The directors chose the graphic designed by Corey Holcomb. The directors then asked Corey to change some colors to represent the colors of the school district of Oconee County with the light blue and navy. Once the graphic was approved, the graphic was sent to Diamond T Promotions for the t-shirt. Corey and Mr. Vargo worked with Diamond T to make Corey's vision a reality. So the t-shirt that you see right here and what our students wore,
Corey, we love it. We really appreciate it.
that's the end result. And the Math Madness directors were so happy with the end product that they've chosen to keep this graphic for future competitions. I also just wanted to comment, I was talking to Mr. Vargo before the meeting, and this is just a great example of how we can partner different organizations within the school district, but not only did this serve a wonderful purpose for our Math Madness and our students and teachers who participated in that, but this was a great product for Corey. He's taking graphics with Mr. Vargo at the Career Center. It gave him a chance to interface with a business in the community and learn more about printing t-shirts and things. So just a good thing, and we're proud of Corey, and I also want to brag about Math Madness. Our lead teachers did an awesome job with that this year, another successful event, so congratulations all the way around. Good job. We've got a little to say thank you. We're going, if y'all come stand here too, we're going to get a picture and tweet you out too. Don't forget how to hold this up.
And it's not participating.
I'll hold this for you.
Awesome.
I'll hold that for you. You hold your shirt. All right.
Wow.
1, 2, 3. All right. Corey, could we take a look at your shirt?
That's true.
Beautiful, thank you.
That is great.
There you go. We got a model here.
Aren't those great? They're just beautiful. That's wonderful.
So this was all the students. All the students had this color, and the adults who volunteered and worked on it were wearing the dark color. So good job.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, our Pledge of Allegiance and school highlight tonight by Walhalla Middle and Walhalla High. Who's doing the pledge for us? I guess Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Josh Lusk is going to come lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Josh. Mr. Garrett.
Well, Mr. Dixon has asked, let's go first.
Okay.
And I'm not going to take any time because I'm going to introduce Ms. Terry Buckaloo. She's going to come up and she's going to talk about her team, introduce everyone. We're so proud to have them here tonight. And I think that their work and what they do is going to speak for itself, so you don't really need to hear from me. So I want to turn it over to Ms. Buckaloo.
Good job, Josh.
All right, I want to introduce you to everybody. Right here we have Mackenzie Rax. Say hello, Mackenzie.
Do you want to come sit down
Say
here?
hello. Hi. We have Brady Vickery. Hi. Dante Roberts.
I miss you, Miss Rochester.
John Sprouse. Noah Hazelden.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and good evening.
Good. Josh Love.
I am glad you all I am glad you are all here today.
Okay, good. All right, and I'm sorry, Josh Lust, say it again.
Thank you.
Drew All,
Thank you very much.
good job. Tyler Hogan, nothing to say. Okay.
Just like his
Reese
mom.
Roundy,
How's it going?
oh, good. Tori Hopkins,
Hello.
okay, and Kieran Green.
Hello.
All right, and let me just set this up for Miss McKenzie. Let's see if we can. Okay. All right, so we're going to share some of the things that we do with you, and if you'll follow the PowerPoint, and how do I advance it? Okay. All right, here we go.
Thank you for inviting us to come talk to you about the Functional Transition Program at Walhalla High School. We are excited to share some highlights of our program with you.
To start our year off on the right foot, we participated in the Special Olympic kickoff in Greenville. Our peers were able to participate with us. It was an amazing day of team building and fun.
When it comes to the Special Olympics, we go all out. We have won the first place Spirit Award the last 2 years. The band always joins us for the opening parade, so we rock the stadium. Peers participate by joining us for the Unified Relay Race. The whole school shows their support during our pep rally the day before. Special Olympics are the best.
All year round, we play Special Olympic Unified Sports. We host the kickball tournament and the bowling tournament. We travel to other area schools to play unified basketball, badminton, hockey, cornhole, and soccer. We also play in the Greenville Invitational Basketball Tournament. We won first place. This year, we did something new and exciting. We played Pickens High School during the halftime of their girls and boys varsity games. Fans who had never gotten to see Unified Sports were thrilled with the opportunity to watch us play. Unified Sports is awesome.
Last year, we started the Unified Club. The Unified Club consists of students with disabilities and students without disabilities who are committed to full inclusion of all students. We plan fun activities and just enjoy being together.
The Unified Club sponsors Ability Awareness Week, which started today. Each day has a dress-up theme so everyone can participate. On Tuesday, all students who enter the building will be given an autism awareness sticker to wear, and on Thursday, they will receive a Down syndrome awareness sticker. Since puzzle pieces are the symbol for autism, the club will be hosting a puzzle competition to see which pair can put a 24-piece puzzle together the fastest. The competition was a blast last year, and we will also take our respect banner around to all the homerooms to give the students the opportunity to pledge to respect all people. And to prepare for this week, we shared videos last week during lunches that our friends and families made about their experiences with our students with disabilities, including their struggles and their triumphs.
For all our efforts of inclusion, the Special Olympics named us a National Unified Champion School. We were the only high school in all of South Carolina to earn the award this year. It is a great honor, and we were so proud to receive this award.
Your tutors are great. They help us learn. They play sports with us. They laugh with us, and they're friends.
Being a peer tutor has impacted my life for the better. These students are so amazing, and they teach me something new every single day. I'm so glad I've had the opportunity to work with these students. Being involved within their classroom has taught me so many things, many of which I can apply to my interest in being a special education teacher.
Mackenzie, that's you.
We go for equine therapy at Eden Farms. It is incredible. We learn all about horses. We learn how to take care of them and how to ride them. Over the last few years, several of our students have overcome extreme fears of horses. We have some students that wouldn't get near the horn. Near get to the hospital. After the training, it ended up raining at the end of the year. I often get dry flashy and work with Miss Vicky. I love both of them.
No, it's great.
We take swimming lessons at Speaking for ICA. We have really improved our skills with our lessons. I was terrified of drowning when I first started my lessons. Now I can put my hand under. We love swimming.
Of course, we do serious stuff too. We have work sites where we learn all about having a job. Noah works at Subway, Mackenzie works at Domino's, Josh and Drew works at McDonald's, Ty works in WHS cafeteria, Max, Courtney, and Mackenzie works at Mr. and Mrs. Salon, Mackenzie and Courtney work in the county library. We all work at the AR Good Store and Pick Swansea. We're a hard-working group.
We do jobs at Walhalla High School. We cycle. We take out cover cafeteria. We pack food. Backpack program. We do laundry for the custodians. And I think, and I get tired.
Mackenzie?
Each quarter we have a business leader coming in to mock interviews with us. Bonds Accord and Subway have already come this year. And Feedback Show is coming this Wednesday. They help us learn what to say in an interview. Practice makes perfect.
Walhalla came to teach us how to paint. We painted reindeer. Mine was the best.
Carol Sally, a nutrition educator from the Clemson Extension Office. We came over 7 months to teach us all about nutrition. We earned a 4-H certificate. The class was fun, but the best part is that we got to eat every time she came.
Yeah, lots of fun, but the best part is that we're just a part of Walhalla High School student body. We do things like pull the freshman wrapping trip, participate in pep brawls, and take classes like band, greenhouse, sports and toy science, family, platoon science, and PE beer sets and balance we are love.
There.
He said environmental science and family consumer science. Thank you.
I don't think that's fair. I need a unicycle, a bowling ball, a machete, and a flame baton.
You're probably not going to come up to that,
I don't think I... You got to say.
You can't trust me with anything. I'm sorry.
There were a couple of times last year I had to put Dante in charge of lunch duty. So I want him to come back. He keeps us straight.
You guys did a great job.
That was amazing.
So good.
We'll be brief with ours. I knew Mr. Garrett was bringing a crowd with him, so I'll I knew I didn't have any entertainment tonight like we had there. So. And I tell you, in administration, if you're ever just having a day, we just need to get away for a minute and just go visit that class. It just absolutely makes your day. Makes your day. I'll touch on a few of our little academic recognitions. This is stuff that you can really look up, but we just kind of like to point it out to us. We have 31 junior scholars this year. These are kids taking, the SAT above the 50th percentile of basically the juniors in the country. The Duke Tip scholars, we had 7 last year. That's coming up still. That'll be compared to, college-bound seniors. So we'll see what the Duke Tip scholars are, but we don't have those numbers yet. We inducted 68 new 6th graders into our Beta Club this year. It's about 25% of the population joined Beta Club. Last year we had 100% passing the EOC, 98% passing the Algebra 1 EOC, but the catch is the mean score. The 94.7 mean score on the English 1 is very, very good. So we're excited about that. We still have Spanish 1 for credit. Around 45, 50 kids take that in each year. So we're getting some high school credits. We like to do that. We like to get some of the kids what we would call a prerequisite. A Spanish 1's like a prerequisite to get your other Spanish in school. So we try to let them, help them get some of those things if we can. Our athletics, we had some highlights this year. Our girls basketball team won the region championship again. Boys basketball team had a winning season. Had a tough little thing in the playoffs. They could have went a little further, but had a tough game toward the in the quarterfinals, I guess is what you call it. We added softball and baseball this year. It's been successful. Our baseball's playing a doubleheader right now in Pickens, and when this cold and wind. So welcome to high school baseball season. And we had a couple of 7th graders that really showed out. Dina Hassan was an all-region tennis player, 7th grader, and Lexi Ransom finished 14th in the state in cross country. That's 4A cross country, so that was kind of exciting for her. And the girls team finished, I think, 3rd or 4th in the state, 3rd in the state as a team. So that was pretty neat. So we're excited about some of the things that we contribute to athletic-wise in the program. Our robotics team this year, we kind of juggled around coaches at a little transition phase, and we had one of our teachers say, "I'll do it," and she kind of walked into something not knowing a lot what she did, but they had a pretty good time. They competed against a lot of the high schools this year, and you can notice that a couple of teams finished in the top 5 in the competitions they went to, competing against high schools. So we're excited about that. We're really trying to build that program to feed the Career Center what they want. We worked closely with Mr. Lusk on some of the things that he's looking for with middle schoolers getting into high school. So we're trying to cater to some of those needs, and we're going to teach almost about everything in our Gateway to Technology classes next year, from medical detectives to robotics and just anything that's going to feed his program. We got a lot of things happening, so we're excited about that next year. Our strings, you can read some of their accolades there. We always have a good performance. If you really want to see how much the strings program goes, go listen to the 6th grade class around Christmas when they're still learning the notes and how to finger things and all that, and then go listen to like an all-county. Oh my goodness, it's incredible how much these kids can grow. And there's a lot of dedication there, so we're excited about that. Our band program, they're still, our band program and chorus and strings and art, they're still in the process of their little things. This is earlier than we typically do. I'm usually like in April when I do this, so a lot of things have completed. But our band program, you can see we have 215 members taking band in our school. It's an exciting time. Every few years they take a big trip. A few years ago they went and played, at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. They played during Memorial Day weekend. So it was a 9/11 thing that was going on. So they played that a few years ago. This year they're going to Disney to a competition down there in Orlando. So we're excited about that with them. So it's a good program. But you notice the biggest thing is we've been winning the band directors the Outstanding Performance Award, 5 years in a row now. And that's a hard accomplishment. That's like winning the state championship in a sport. It's kind of close to it. So we're really excited about that. One of the things I just kind of wanted to mention that's a little bit different, that's been our focus, is improving school climate. And this is kind of 2 years that we've been working on this. We started last year with some initiatives. We had a lot of kids that came forward and said, hey, what can we do? So we tried to just, take over with some of the things that they've done. Some of those kids moved on to high school, so now we're working with newer kids getting involved. But we kind of informally partnered with Green Dot and a call to action. They've been coming to our school for the last few years doing a program about domestic violence. And we've kind of tied that in with just trying to improve relationships among kids. They came in and hired a company to come do some short story or some short plays with the kids, and the kids got to interact too. They got to participate. They got to do all the acting. They would narrate to them and tell the kids what to do, and it really got funny. But a lot of the messages were good, and the kids were just so zoned into this. You put 750, 800 kids in an auditorium and expect them to pay attention for an hour, and wow, they were enthralled with the message that was going on there. But we've kind of done a few things with Celeste Norris, and she and I have communicated a little bit. Actually, just last week, we were trying to touch base with each other about some other initiatives. But we started a thing like an online random act of kindness. Our biggest issue we deal with is bullying, but not the act. People using the word for everything. It's used for any time you disagree with somebody, that word gets thrown out. Don't get me wrong, kids haven't changed in the 25 years I've done that. There are mean things that happen. But what happens now is it's documented instantaneously and talked about instantaneously. And the problems we have aren't so much the conflicts kids have with each other. We can resolve those. The problems we have is the large amount of people who get wind of it and want to make it the topic, the fodder of the day, so to speak. And what that does is it just keeps making it snowball and snowball and snowball. So what we've tried to do is teach kids about resolving conflicts with each other, face to face, together, in a mediated setting. And we've really worked hard to try to do that with each other. Sometimes people just don't get along with each other, and that's okay. You just still have to learn how to coexist with everything. So we've worked on those things, but instead of judging people and talking mean to people, we've tried to model random acts of kindness. So what happens is we have a way where kids can go online, just like they can report an instance of harassment or bullying or something like that, they can report good things. So if a kid sees somebody helping another one with their homework, they can go on the line and click on it and say, I saw Mr. Rucat helping so-and-so with his math homework. And we get a print out of that. It just goes straight into a spreadsheet. And every Friday I look at it and we go find the kids that were nominated or recognized, and we just go into the classroom at the end of the day on Friday and we just reward them and tell them, you were caught doing this, being good. You were caught doing that. And we appreciate that. So now kids, some of them like to play the system and they'll nominate 15 or 20 people and they'll nominate each other, but that's okay. I mean, it's okay if they're doing that. So we've tried to emphasize we're going to really focus on watching people do good things for each other. And it's amazing some of the things. It goes from holding a door for somebody to another kid who voluntarily helped the custodians clean tables in the cafeteria. Just went over and started doing it. Somebody else saw it and reported that kid was helping them clean tables. So there's a lot more good out there than what you see on a social media type thing. And that's what we're trying to tell kids. Don't believe all the stuff you mean. Do good in what you do. So we've tried to work toward the kindness and the climate side of it. And then one of the things we do is we're trying to teach kids some type of civic responsibility. Now it's hard to look at the school board and say we raise money because we are a charity. But we try to teach kids, responsibility. We kind of adopted the March of Dimes as our school's charity if we do it. So we do little contests and stuff like that. And last year we were the #1 school, high schools, middle schools, all schools, of fundraising in South Carolina and upper state South Carolina and Western Carolinas and North Carolina. And this Thursday we're going to do like a crazy sock day. That's one of our little initiatives to kind of get kids, and it's Down Syndrome Day, so World Down Syndrome Day. So we're going to try to educate kids on that. What we really look for with this whole climate thing is leadership. And we're trying to find kids who are leaders. You saw John and Tyler and Tori in here a little while ago with the high school. Those are leaders. We're working with, our SIC is trying to work with the high school, starting an initiative with the the high school on not so much a big brother, big sister thing, but a mentoring type thing where we can get some of these kids, and I think the Beta Club has kind of embraced it at the high school, to kind of work with some stuff and just interact with our kids. If it's come to eat lunch with them, or if it's come to tutor or something like that. So that's some of the things that we've tried to do with the climate. So that's where our focus has been. But like I say, we're trying to teach kids the leadership role of it, and somebody needs to take charge. And that's where we go. So that's kind of what's going on at Walhalla Middle right now.
Thank you, Mr. Dixon and Mr. Gary. Thank you. Glad to have you all with us. Okay, next is the approval of tonight's agenda, the March 18th regular meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the March 18th, 2019 regular board meeting agenda.
Second.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve the March 18th, 2019 agenda. All in favor? Public comment is next. Ms. Gibson, we have someone.
To you, Ms. Nimmons, you're first.
You would just come up and state your name for the record, please.
Well, my name is Shannon Nimmons, and thank you for allowing us to speak on our concerns with the modified school calendar. We're each going to kind of give our own personal view coming from different aspects of our lives. Well, first, I'm a mom to 3 girls, one in the high school level. She's heavily involved in band, marching band, a lot of the fine arts programs, golf as well. And our middle daughter is in middle school, and she is running varsity sports and track and cross country. So, and she's also in symphonic band in middle school, so it's kind of crazy. And then we have an elementary school daughter as well. She's 9 and she's in 4th grade. So we're kind of coming at it from all, levels and perspectives. To add to that, I teach kindergarten. And so tonight, I just kind of wanted to speak on behalf of those little ones that that maybe get not thought about sometimes. Kids of foster care and transient families. We have a lot of students that move schools very frequently. It's not uncommon for them to go to 2 and 3 school districts a school year. I have one that this year, I am her 3rd teacher. She's in foster care. She's been in 3 different districts. Vacations are not a part of their lives. They wear more emotional baggage than any child ever should. And so I kind of like to think that I'm speaking for them. I'm scared of the ramifications of students like that coming in late to the school year. And let's say that we've already been in school for 60 days. They could come in and maybe they're in school for 40 days. Especially in early childhood, that's huge. That's a big difference. And it scares me. These kids are usually behind academically already. And so I just think that moving so drastically from a calendar like those around us, I just think it's especially a disservice to those students. My second concern is coming from an early childhood background. Kindergarten presents with definitely unique situations. One of those would be students who have trouble separating from their parents. We have a lot of kids that this is their first time in school, and they may cry all the way up till Christmas. I don't have any of those this year, praise God, but in the past it's very common. And we get on a roll with those kids and they finally get in the groove of things, and then we have 2 weeks off and we're back to crying every day, doing our holds, having, just loss of instruction time. So that and reteaching routines, procedures, just remembering our rules, remembering how to be kind, how do we go about the things daily in our classroom. I'm just worried that we get going and then we have a break, and then we're going to have to come back and spend several more days going back over those things again. So thank you for letting us talk talk today, and I think that Mr. Thompson's going to speak next from his point of view. So thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. I appreciate the fact that I get the opportunity to talk to many of you that I spent many years working with or for, looking at the board members. Only Ms. McCormick's the only one that I don't really know from personal standpoint. Mr. Lee was a member of our board back in the first time he was on the board when I was a coach and even the principal at the youth elementary school, Rick Buddy and Joe Rickett. And of course, two of these young ladies right here were members of students of mine at Youth Elementary School. I come today to talk to you as a parent, former parent. All three of my children went through our school system, and as a former teacher, as a former coach, and a principal, and now a great supporter of the school district of Oconee County. I've talked with many parents and teachers of all levels about this modified calendar. I've become very interested in the school district, especially more so in the last 5 years, I guess, since I've lost my wife. I became very much involved more in the school system itself. I go to the Seneca High School every Thursday morning for the last 2 or 3 years to meet with the FCA coaches breakfast. I'm at every activity at Seneca High School, Seneca Middle School, and some of the middle elementary schools. I tell my daughter I'm 82 years old, going on 52, but I don't have time to do anything. I'm to go to every athletic event, every music event, or anything else. And I've talked to these elementary school teachers, some of them like Ms. Shannon, and to a lot of teachers at the high school and the middle school, and asked them how this was going to affect them, this new calendar that's being proposed. And they all tell me, and many of these teachers that I've talked to are coaches, music, fine arts instructors, sponsors of other activities that goes on in the school, the FFA and even those who, the American Legion group who sponsor our Girls State and Boys States groups. And they say it's going to be a very detrimental to their students and to the families of those things. Because so many of the extra activities that they're doing in the school system is going to be affected by this change. Because regardless of if you go into these events, you're going to get caught. When you look at let's look at athletics for event. If you're going to have 2 weeks off during football season, then you've got middle school, 2 teams, 30, 40, 60 each. You've got a middle school of another 35, 40. You've got a varsity of 45 or 50. You've got all those students. You've got the cheerleaders, about 25 or 30 in high school, 15 in middle school, and 2 different groups in the middle school. What are they going to do those 2 weeks? Are they not going to go to practice? Or if you do that, then what's going to happen? We're going to lose our events. That means that all those particular students, they can't go anywhere on vacation with their families. So that particular group of students is very much of a problem affected by that. There's other things that's going to be affected, the extracurricular activities that's involved in it. One thing that we want to do is that they have a rule in school. I don't think they've changed it. If you're not in school, you can't participate. I believe that's still a rule in the county, is it not? So if you don't go to school, does that mean we're going to have to forfeit the games that we play? Or are we going to have to forfeit 29 students from Seneca High School go to the All-State course just last week? We've got a lot of things that's going to be affected by that. And as Shannon told you, there's a lot of things that in the elementary school level that's going to be. Somebody else is going to speak on that about some of the things that I've got from the teachers and from the parents that I've talked to. There's so much that we can do about the participation of a lot of things. And what you saw up here tonight, it's a wonderful thing that what Oconee County produces in the state. We have some of the best special ed programs or special needs programs in the state. And I can remember back in my days at Utica, one of my most beloved things was the 2 special ed classes we had there. And doing things for students is the most important thing in education. As all of you know, I see 3 or 4 of you in here that have been in education a long time. I spent over 30 years in it myself. And the most important thing in my life was to be able to do what's good for students. and that's still what it is now. And I think that from what I get from talking to parents and teachers and those who are involved in all the other different activities, elementary school right on through, that this would be a detrimental to the school system and to that we might lose some of these things we saw here tonight because of this time frame of being a problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Coach.
Hello, how are y'all doing? My name's Devin Clay from Seneca High School. So I made this point at the last meeting at Blue Ridge Elementary, but so many students in our county go to this trip called the Gauntlet with New Spring Church. And so with the dates, with the schedule, if we start school in July, the kids will not be able to go to this trip. And a point that was brought up was we can try to talk to other counties and see if we can maybe change the dates or they will like to go on the same calendar we're doing. But there's really no way we could. I mean, it's not just the upper state of South Carolina, it's the whole South Carolina, from Columbia to the beaches and to the upstate. And so if we change the schedule, this will limit hundreds and hundreds of kids from not going on this trip. And the thing, the trip like means so much to me is because in previous years I was a child of I guess not the richest family, and so the go on this trip was $25, right? And for many kids around this area, they don't really get to venture out. They stay home, they stay in South Carolina, they've never traveled outside the state. And so what New Spring Church has offered to these students is if you pay $25 in your parents' permission, they would take you on this church trip where they teach you about God, they just teach you about life, and for these kids actually to get a chance to look at the world. So I just wanted y'all to think about that as y'all vote on the modified schedule. And then another point I wanted to make is for the teachers, most teachers in this county end up working 2 jobs, not just with teaching. They do a side hustle as in homebound or another little part-time job. And so if we change the schedule around so much, I don't think they're going to be as hireable. I mean, as me as a employer, if I see the teacher, I understand, the teacher has to do lots of stuff throughout the day, grading and all of that, but if we have these breaks and these times that they have to go to school and not, I don't think they'll be able to hire, and with their salary, they won't be able to support their families. So I just wanted y'all to keep that in consideration as y'all choose the calendar and everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Kay Wilson, and I am the mother of 3 children in Oconee County, and I'm a member of the SIC at Seneca High School, and thank you for taking, I know it's been a longer night, thank you for your time, thank you for your commitment to Oconee County. And I think what we're just wanting to make sure you hear is that we just feel like the modified calendar would bring about such a drastic change for our entire community that us standing alone in the state is just not something that will be most beneficial for us. And I know we've talked of how it would affect daycares, and I know Dr. Thorsland met with those people, but I feel like, they're going to say they have to adapt because a daycare, their whole livelihood is based upon the school calendar. So of course they would say they would adjust. And then, churches, as Devin has mentioned, my husband is a pastor, how it will affect our summer and, children's programs, youth programs. Also the rec department, a lady has brought up about All-Star Baseball is, if they go to state, it's the end of July or sometimes the 1st of August. Those type of things that are state-led will affect if our county is standing alone in this. And also the extracurricular things, we've talked about that. But in general, I have really researched this from several different angles. I've talked to the people who are for it, and I still just do not feel like there's any definite benefits that have been proven data to talk about the benefits. And, one of them obviously is talking about summer slide, but I feel like moving from an 11-week to a 7-week, I still think we're going to have the summer slide. And remediation, I think it's a wonderful thing to offer. It sounds great, but I'm concerned, will the kids during those breaks actually be able to get there? Will we have the buses to provide them transportation? Will we have the teachers who are happy to stay during their break and do this? And so I know the goal was to finish everything before Christmas. I would love for the semester to change before Christmas. And talking about moving the start date, I've contacted Bill Sandifer. I've talked to him at length about it. He is very much that is just going to be impossible on the timetable that has been presented for our calendar, for our county to be voted on. I'm going to continue to be in contact with him about it, but he said it is a huge and will be a very heated discussion for the state Congress. And I realize that elementary parents, there's some of those in favor of it, but I don't think they're thinking ahead of what it will mean when their children are older and talking about how it will affect their extracurricular activities. I know other people have talked about it having better vacation times, but I'm just going to be honest. I think we do not need to pick a calendar based upon when it's good to take vacation. I think we need to consider what it means for the entire county, the entire community, and then make a decision that will best represent everyone. And I'm not here to speak on behalf of what works for my family or for anybody purposely. I'm here on who I have spoken to and who I feel like I want to represent the majority of the people who are talking of how it will be a negative impact on them, and that's why we wanted to come tonight to share that. So if the proposal is made to change the calendar, I just want to challenge you to think from all sides, and I hope that you'll make the best decision for our county. And thank you again for your time very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Jerry, can I say one other?
Yes, sir.
One thing that I got from teachers that we have made not a bedroom, it's what I get from them. They say it's detrimental to the educational process of our county. And the fact that when you have these, especially to the elementary school teachers have told me this, that anytime you go more than a couple of days out of school, when you come back, what do you have to do? You have to go back and reteach. So you spend, each time you have this break, you're going to have to go back and reteach that. And so that's more time. You prepare for it for that long gap at Christmas. But even almost at Thanksgiving time, now that we got 3 days off, sometimes they have to go back and reteach for a little bit. And the other thing is that was not mentioned is that our AP classes that we have in Oconee County, which we are very, 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 probably one of the tops in the state with AP classes. They have statewide national tests that are given on certain dates. And that's how they perform, but then they're going to get college credit for these classes. And if you take 2 weeks or less, that's 2 weeks or 4 weeks maybe, that they don't get the instruction to catch up with the rest of the state, or the nation, really. And so that's one thing we don't want to take that away from the students who are in the top level. And we have an awful lot of them in Oconee County. We're very blessed with that thing. But don't take that away from them to be able to compete with that. That's one thing that was not in anything that I said that I didn't hear it. I want to make sure that we understand that the education is the most important part for every student. We give them every opportunity we have. Let's don't take any of them away from them. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Is there anyone else from the, Dr. Thornton, you want to?
Sure. I certainly appreciate all the opinions. At the end of the day, I think that it does boil down to preference. Of course, this is not something that we are pushing. It's something that our parent advisory asked us to make an option for the 1920 calendar. We didn't feel like we could do it fast enough, so we pushed it out to 2021 to talk about it. And the surveys that we've put out to parents and then to faculty and staff were 55-45 roughly in favor of the modified calendar. The 45% is certainly much more vocal. I will concede that. And you know, for every positive on one side, there's a negative on that side as well. And you know what some people see as a negative, other people see the very same thing as a positive. You know, for example, the AP, I can argue that AP students would actually get more time before their test with a modified calendar. But we're not here to argue because I don't want to advocate. We just wanted to present it as an option. And I think that the best case scenario would be that the legislature back off on the mandatory start date and let school boards decide, which I feel strongly that you 5 are elected by the people of Oconee County to govern the schools, and you should have the authority to set our start date, not legislators in Columbia. So that if anything comes out of that, out of this discussion, that's what I would like to see come out of it, is that the state legislature back off on mandatory start dates so that we could start school when we want to in our community. We're kind of backed into a corner because the current law says you start the 3rd Monday unless you have a modified calendar. So the modified calendar in some ways is an attempt to you know, follow the state law as it is. But if they would just change that law, we'd be better off, I would argue. So.
We appreciate each one of you being here tonight. And Ms. Wilson, thank you for contacting Representative Sandifer. I too had a conversation with him, and if we could get a lot of the people in Oconee behind that and get that changed 1 week is all we need, and it would do just what you mentioned to end our first semester. That's before Christmas. That's the biggest thing they could do to help us, and we appreciate your efforts and hope to get some more. But thank each of you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you
for being here.
Next on the agenda is approval of the February 11th, 2019 work session meeting minutes and February 18th, 2019 regular board meeting. Is there a motion on those?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the February 11th, 2019 work session meeting and February 18th, 2019 regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion and second to approve the February 11th, 2019 work session, February 18, 2019 regular board meeting minutes. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, discussion items, February financial report. Ms. Moore.
You have a report, and I guess the biggest news is that we have money now.
That's always good.
It is good. It is good. I was actually checking on that before I came in here. Makes my life a little easier when I don't have to worry about how much money we have. But does anyone have any questions for me?
I had one question. On the checks that were written, I think it was for the stores, for, can we go to that?
Is it for the playground?
Yeah, for the playground.
Yeah.
Did that, how many schools did that do? Or I was just curious more than anything.
I don't know what the amount is on there, but we are. There's how much?
77,000.
Okay, that's going to do all the ones that we went to the elementary schools and determined we needed.
Okay.
So some schools may only need one because they may have a couple.
Okay.
But I don't remember the exact number.
Crash bars for playground games.
Yeah, it was in the 30s. I think
Okay.
some schools needed 3. Okay. So we did that.
They're about $2,000 a gate.
Yeah, 1,800.
That's what I wondered. Okay.
So, but we are in the process of getting those obviously put in that. But was that was the
That was some federal money.
yeah, that was Title IV money that we used
Title
for
IV
safety and security. You're going to see another one. We got a $60,000 grant from the State Department for School Safety, and a lot of that is going into putting individual locks on bathrooms which are within classrooms, like a kindergarten class at Northside, where they could go into a second room, the bathroom. Right now, because with the kids the way it is, we never put in locks because we don't want kids to lock themselves in. These are ones that you can pop with them with a dime actually, but they have a little key that they pop with, and that we can get them in there, but it's an extra layer of security. So we'll spend about $60,000 on those, and those are going to be about $600 a piece to put in. We won't get everything we need out of those. We'll hope to. The grant could give us more than $60,000. It's giving us a minimum of $60,000. We're waiting to hear if we got more. So we just went through every school. Mr. Alexander and Ms. Hughes went to every playground at elementary and talked with the principals, and then we figured out how many we needed of each, and Ms. Simmons' side was nice enough to help us with some Title IV money for one of them, and then the grant helps with the other.
And this is actually, so those 4 doors at the back have panic devices on them, so you can never be locked in this room. If you're inside this room and there was a fire, you can always push that panic device to get out. Well, playgrounds, if you think if there's one gate and it's got a latch on it and it's completely solid the rest of the way around, if there was ever someone committing violence, the kids are kind of in a pen. So this puts devices like that with a big steel plate so that you can't come on the outside of the fence and push it to gain access to it. But if you're inside the fence and someone was at the gate, you could run through that device and get away. You wouldn't be trapped inside a gate. So that's what those are for.
So as part of their emergency booklet, they all have plans of where they're going to go and meet, and they even talk with people if they're in a neighborhood. They may go to somebody's house in that neighborhood, for the kids to gather, and then they go get them. But yeah, you just don't want them pinned in where they're kind of trying to climb a 6-foot fence, and kindergarten kids can't do that.
So if we're doing a drill next fall, Mr. Rucat,
yeah, they'll be at your house.
Run to your house.
They actually do have who lives by who's the next road from Mr. Davis?
Mildred Todd.
Yeah. So I mean, that like at Walhalla, they have I know at some of the other schools they have agreements. Right. So it's but that's what that's for. It's an expensive endeavor, but we've been trying to figure out a way to do that for a long time, and so we were happy to do that.
Good, thank you.
And there will be some general fund money supplementing those grants. We didn't get enough to do everything, and Mr. Alexander's guys will be doing some of the work also.
That's terrific, thank you.
Any others? Okay, I put at your place a tentative budget calendar. I got some word today from across the street that the Budget Finance Committee meets on April the 9th, and they want us to present at that meeting. So I'll have the budget ready by the next board meeting, and I'll have to ask you to at least read it, first reading that night, so that we'll have your approval before we go over it.
Well, we can do it in title only like they do,
Yeah, we can, right, exactly. So, but this is tentative. If anything changes, I'll update it and then let you all have it next time.
Anything else? Any other questions? Ms. Tanby, policy JICDA.
Yes, every spring, Ms. Hughes meets with the assistant principals, and principals are invited, but the folks that typically handle the discipline, they go through the behavior guide and they look at changes, and so some of those involve policy things. The first bunch you have, if you go to page 11, a lot of it remains the same, but if you go to page 11, there's one just sort of housekeeping change. We're not really sure how it happened, but there was an incorrect code in there for inappropriate behavior, so we got the Power School code right so that we don't get flagged for something that's not the correct code, and so we want to make sure that was correct. And then if you go to page 14, this is the only real change that was made was to include vaping as part of the smoking policy. We've added electronic cigarettes a few years ago, and I'm gonna tell you something. Vaping is way involved in our school system. Not just our school system. Kids are doing this, and of course adults are too, and they think it's okay to do it in an auditorium or the whatever. So we added the vaping to it when we do our announcements. I was at a baseball game the other day, and the announcer read the thing about our policy with tobacco, and he talked about e-cigarettes, and So you're going to be including vaping on that pretty soon because you can't have those there either. So it just basically falls under the same consequences as smoking. That's what it is. So you see that change. The other change on this part was just the date change. So we'd ask that you approve those. And then my second one is policy JIC FAA, harassment, intimidation, or bullying. And you can see in there, just about midway down, basically we wanted a common definition for bullying, and worked with the folks, the assistant principals, and obviously researched and did that, and this is what they came up with. When a person or persons repeatedly and on purpose says or does something to another person, a pattern of behavior by the bully exists, so it becomes an imbalance of social or physical power, which distinguishes bullying from conflict. So it's not a one-time deal, it's an ongoing thing. Sometimes somebody will come up and if I said something ugly to Miss Simmons, I'm just being ugly, I'm not necessarily bullying her, but if I do it over and over again, then I'm bullying her. And of course, you take care of me, so I wouldn't do that to her. But that's where we have to explain, it's a pattern of behavior. It's not necessarily a one-time instance. So they asked that we include that, so we're very clear on that when we have those conversations. So those are the two things that my department would like for you to help us with over the next month and a half.
Yeah, and these would be updated for the fall, for the next school year. You could do first reading in April, second reading in May, and that'll be fine.
We just need to get them out. We do it online. Most of our handbook with the conduct, the behavior handbook is done online, but we also get some printed in case people need a copy. So we get like 50 per school printed out, and that way if people specifically request them, we can give them to them. So we just need to be able to get it to the printer and get them back.
Any questions, Mr. Hanby?
Thank you.
Dr. Thorsman?
And the two things I have here are procurement issues that I want to kind of make you aware of and make sure there are no concerns. But we, 5 years ago, went through a selection process for 2 contractors and 2 architecture and engineering firms. So we secured the services of Trail and J. Davis Incorporated as contractors, and McMillan, Pasden, Smith, and Jumper Carter Cease as A&E firms. And that was for a 5-year period, but our procurement code says that the superintendent could extend those contracts from 5 years to 7 years. Because of where we are in the Career Center process and the Seneca Middle School process, we would like to keep those 4 companies available for our building program over the next 2 years. So unless you object, I would like to extend that. It cannot be extended beyond 7 years without a vote of the school board. But the procurement code does give me authority to extend those. I wouldn't want to do that if you had problems with it, but all 4 of those companies have performed well for us, and we would like to keep them on contract for the next 2 years. So that was the first. And the second is our procurement code. Of course, when we have excess equipment or property, we can't just give it to people. We have a process to get rid of unused equipment. And one of the things we can do is donate, but in talking to Mr. Orr, he said to be in compliance with the procurement code, I needed to make you aware of 2 things. We had a request. I had lunch, it's been a couple months ago, with Chris Bateman, who is the director of OCA. And we were talking about some special ed issues because we do provide special ed services to students, even though they're private school. That's part of the federal regulations. But he had asked me if any of our school closings, if we had a few desks. They had a need for a few desks. We had some at the old Walhalla Middle building, the old part of the building we weren't even using. I think we donated 5 desks to them a couple of weeks ago. Again, weren't going to be used. They would have been, and weren't honestly quite valuable to us. So we made that donation, and the Walhalla Recreation Department has asked us for
an old projector that's no longer being used in a classroom, and a screen because they're wanting to use it, I think, in their
In the gymnasium and those rooms they have downstairs where they do banquets and things, or recognize the kids, they could do like slideshows of the season and that kind of stuff.
And we have started selling a lot of our extra equipment on govdeals.com, which is legal through our procurement code, but we do get pennies on the dollar. So it's not like we're giving away, a lot of money or anything like that, but it is helping the community. And I wanted to make you aware of those two donations that are out there. And if you have concerns, then certainly let me know, and we cannot do that. But generally, we like to try to be good neighbors to other groups and organizations in the county when it's not going to have a large financial impact and really not going to affect the operations of the school district at all.
Any questions or comments on either of those? Okay. That concludes the open session portion of our meeting. I will need a motion to go into executive session for personnel items, employment recommendations, and changes.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a recommendation to go into executive session for personnel items, employment recommendations, and changes.
A second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor of executive session for personnel items? Unanimous. Thank you. We shall return shortly.